So my lyrics spent a long time waiting for you, and then you push me away. Painkillers for breakfast, I ain't feeling the day. I'm fucking geeked up, but I tell her I'm okay.
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl KD, and I'm back with another video. Today we're gonna be reacting to 3 Home Alone horror stories animated. So I'm gonna assume by the title that it's somebody that just took some scary Home Alone stories and animated them. So obviously that's what it is by the title. But that's what we're finna get ready to react to. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you follow me on all my social medias right here somewhere, one of these directions. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for catching up on my videos and watching my videos. I appreciate all my new subscribers and my OG subscribers. I love y'all. Let's get into this video.
I grew up in a small town. My mother worked 2 jobs to support us financially. When I was 7 years old, my dad left my mom and never came back. And my brother, unfortunately, has autism. Unlike others, he is actually a bit better in his condition, though he rarely talks or expresses like a normal person.
Why they draw this boy teeth like this? That is unnecessary. He do that man like that.
But he can do his basic chores. Most of the day, he sits near the window and watches the world outside. This incident happened when I was 15 years old and my brother Jack was 11. My mom was working a night shift on a Thursday, so basically it was just me and my brother.
I don't like this music.
We're kind of used to staying on our own at nights because we had no other choice. Our neighbor next door was an alcoholic man. He had a son close to my age, but we often heard the man screaming at his son late at night. This particular night, I was sitting in our living room and watching TV. My brother was upstairs, lying on his bed. Suddenly, I heard huge chaos outside. I opened the door and saw 3 or 4 people had gathered in front of our neighbor's house.
You open the door?
In 5 to 7 minutes, a cop arrived.
Why is it when you hear noises outside, some people's first instinct is to open the door? Boy, don't open that door. Have you lost your mind? See, you look out the, see if you black, you look out the window, you just lay on the floor until it's all said and done, because somebody next door gonna tell you what happened anyway.
Cop arrived. They sealed the entire house within seconds. Paramedics even came out and took a body on a stretcher. And behind them, I saw the father getting into an ambulance with a bleeding head. At first, I couldn't understand what was going on.
I know these ain't
hearing
heartbeats.
The conversations of the people gathering in front of the scene, it gave me a clear idea of what just happened. The father reported to 911 saying a homeless man broke into their house and tried to rob them. He hit the father with a baseball bat and badly injured him. As the father was already drunk, he fell to the floor in terrible pain. The father saw the son rushing towards the man to stop him. That was just when the man hit his son on the back of the head and he fell to the floor. The man then stole his wallet and a few electronics and escaped the premises. The cops registered the father's complaint. But after suffering a huge blood clotting inside the brain, his son died in the hospital that night.
Oh, dang.
Our entire town was shook.
What is this music?
No one expected such a terrible tragedy. The father arranged a small funeral for his son, and we attended. Everyone paid their condolences to him. The local sheriff assured him that they would find the guy who destroyed his family. My mom got utterly terrified and asked her grandma to watch us during our night shifts. Our neighbor, Mr. Feynman.
Why I feel like it was the dad? Why I don't even feel like it was a homeless person? Why I feel like the dad and the son got into a fight and he busted that dude in his chops? Like, why I feel like that's what happened? Like,
Feynman had changed after his son's death. I often saw him sitting on the porch with a terrified face. I could tell that he was suffering the trauma of that night, every single second. I mean, no doubt it would have been horrifying to watch your son dying on the floor at the hands of an intruder and not being able to do anything. Mr. Feynman stopped drinking after that incident.
I bet he did.
Pleaded with the sheriff to let him move out as he was traumatized to live in that house, but the ongoing investigation compelled him to stay back. About a week after the incident, I started to notice some weird behavior in my brother. Even though we never discussed the death of the boy next door, I'm sure my brother must have realized something happened to our neighbors. One day, I was doing my schoolwork sitting in the living room.
This
It was a
music,
boring, rainy afternoon.
It's tripping me
I
out.
was sitting next to the living room window and watching the raindrops. Suddenly, I heard him chuckle. I looked at him and saw he was looking outside and laughing at something. The street and neighboring houses were visible from that window. I asked him, "What's so funny, Jack?" He chuckled and said, "Him," and pointed out the window. I immediately got up and walked towards the window. I stood next to my brother and looked out. Like I said, it was raining
Oh,
outside.
hell no.
Rain wasn't that heavy, which is why I could see the empty street clearly. As far as my eyes went, I didn't see a single living creature outside. I thought to myself, Jack was probably imagining something, and I laughed at it. That night, when we all sat for dinner, Jack surprised all of us. My mom served him some food, and placed the plate in front of him to eat. But Jack got up, and slowly went to the kitchen. He then brought an extra plate and placed it on the table right beside him.
Nope.
Why did you bring an extra plate?
Nope. Hell no. Nope. Hell no. See, Jack gotta go. Is that his name? I'm assuming. I can't remember. But he gotta go. Either he gotta go or I'm finna pack my bags and move out. Cause that's a hell. Nah, this dude see dead people. I see dead people. No. Nope.
My mom said. He looked beside him, as if someone was actually sitting on the chair next to him, then smiled on his own. I was feeling very odd about his behavior.
Odd.
Jack, Mom is asking you something. He then looked at our mom and said, He's hungry, Mom. Serve him too, he's hungry. My mom and I were absolutely stunned by Jack's behavior.
Why are they
Mom
still
replied
sitting
in a
here?
low, calm voice. Who is he? Jack chuckled and said, My friend, William. We just thought that like every normal kid, Jack had an imaginary friend. So that night we didn't react to his
I
sudden
do love
weird
if they eat
behavior,
bricks.
as he seemed happy, so we decided to play along with this. Jack often talked and smiled on his own. Whenever someone asked, he said he was talking to his friend William. Things never took a different turn, so Jack's behavior never worried me that way.
Nope.
That was until one night. I woke up in my room and heard footsteps going down the stairs. Now, my mom slept downstairs, while my brother and I had a room upstairs. I got up from my bed and went to check on my brother. As I opened his bedroom door, I saw it was empty. I rushed downstairs and found the main door wide open. I freaked out and woke up my mom. We came out of the house and started calling for my brother.
Nah,
My
let him
mom
go.
was about to cry when we heard a chuckling sound coming from our backyard. We ran there and saw Jack standing under a tree.
Why his
He
eyes
was
red?
facing his back at us. I said in a broken voice,
Hell no.
Jackie, are you alright?
No,
Suddenly turned
this
towards
boy
us.
is not okay.
I've never seen my brother like this. His eyes were blood red and his face was filled with pain. He said in a rough voice, He's buried here, and then fainted on the ground. My brother caught a high fever the next morning. We called many doctors,
dead.
but no one could tell exactly what was wrong with him. My mom became tense and worried. She hardly slept at night. One night, I saw my mom talking to our town's sheriff standing at the doorway. After the sheriff left, I asked my mom what he was saying. My mom replied that the sheriff was going to close the next door neighbor's case file. They investigated a lot, but couldn't get a hold of the intruder who broke into their house that night. Suddenly, my eyes widened. I asked my mom, Mom? What was the name of Mr. Feynman's son?
William. It was
She
William.
replied, I think it was William. Why do you ask? My head started to throb in fear. Is this possible? All this time, the imaginary friend my brother was talking about was none other than our neighbor's dead son. I rushed to Jack's room. He was muttering something in his sleep. I got close to him and said,
Why?
Jack.
Why? This boy is seeing dead people. Why do y'all keep coming close to this dude? He's standing under trees, eye bloodshot red, telling us he buried here, and y'all still go talk to this little kid? Hell no. No.
Is William right here with you now? You're just gonna have to trust me. I am not making this
Oh.
up at all. My brother suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the corner of the room. As I followed his eyes, my heart sunk in fear. A teenage boy was standing in the darkness of the
Lord.
corner of the room. His eyes were pale white with small pupils gushing out of them. His face was particularly visible as his entire body was in the darkness. Dried blood spots were visible on his left cheek and forehead. He then looked at me and my brother. Jackie got out of his bed slowly. He then started to walk out of the room. I followed him downstairs. Mom
Why?
was sitting in the living room. Suddenly seeing Jack walking on his own amidst this fever, she rushed to him. But before she could do anything else, I stopped her and told her everything. My mom and I came out of the house following Jack. Jack walked towards the backyard and stopped right in front of the tree. This tree was standing in the middle of our backyard and the backyard of our neighbor, Mr. Feynman. Jack then pointed towards the ground beneath the tree and said, Dig here, and then fainted to the ground.
Bro, he
Without
has got
wasting
to
a
stop
single
falling.
second, I told my mom to call our sheriff, and she did right away. He came with 3 other police officers. People in our neighborhood gathered in our backyard out of curiosity. In front of everyone, the cops dug under the tree, and what they found still disturbs me to this day.
Mm-mm.
They found a bloody baseball bat wrapped in a bloody cloth buried under the tree.
It was the dad. I
The
said
mystery
that.
unfolded, shocking our town once again. Mr. Feynman murdered his own son out of a
I
feat of
said that.
drunkenness. But to save himself from the law, he decided to make up the entire story of the robbery. He injured himself, willing to make the situation more believable, and even secretly buried the murder weapon.
That was
Without the murder
stupid.
weapon, no cops would have ever caught this man. That must have been why he wanted to move out so bad. The cops arrested him that day and took him into custody. Surprisingly, my brother Jack got completely better the very next
I
day.
bet he did.
We still live in that house, and I believe William
Why?
has finally been able to rest in peace.
They are absolutely tripping.
Me and my family just recently moved to our new house. My dad bought it in an auction.
We moving out. Jack moving out. We getting the hell away from this house. Ain't no way on God's green earth I'm finna continue to stay in this house. And if somebody is possessing or just showing up, somebody dead just showing up in the corner of my house. Mm-mm.
The house was actually better than any of the previous ones we had lived in. It had a big pool in the backside, and a small garden beside the pool too. There was a big tree in the garden which grew scented yellow flowers. The backside is probably the only reason why I agreed to move into the house. The house was also close to my school, hence my parents were happy about the safety measures. Both of my parents traveled a lot, so I got accustomed to staying alone in the house from quite a young age. We had tight securities and alarms all
Okay.
around this new house too. There was no way anyone could break in without setting off the alarm, so I had nothing to worry about. At the back
Somebody
of the
finna
house, there
break
stood
in.
an old 3-story apartment. I would always see people on the first and second floor, but the third floor, it felt like no one stayed there. The third story's
your
bedroom
business.
windows faced directly at the backside of our house.
Don't look at that. Don't be worrying about who on the third floor of the apartment. That ain't your business. Stay out of that. Get your mouth off of that. Stay out of that.
It was a calm and quiet place, so I kind of liked chilling in my house while my parents were on tour. One weekend, my parents were off to visit my sick aunt in LA. I stayed back home like usual. It was a Saturday night, and all my friends wanted to hang out at one of my other friends' house. I promised my parents not to stay out late, so
Or go
after a
over there.
couple of beers, I came back home. It was 9 p.m., and I wasn't feeling sleepy at all. I went upstairs and got in my bathing suit to go for a swim in the pool. It was a hot summer night. I poured myself a glass of fresh orange juice and put on some music. I swam for some time, and then I drank my juice lying on my pool raft. I must have fallen asleep. I
In
heard
the
a
pool?
noise, and I woke up. The backside of the apartment was all empty. No one was around. Just then, my eyes went to the third floor window of the nearby building. A frail old woman was standing in front of the window looking directly at me.
Oh,
Her eyes were so big that her stare kind of freaked me out. I didn't say anything and looked at
Get
my
out the pool.
watch. It was around 10 p.m. I just continued to lie on my raft, thinking she would
her dumb ass stayed in this pool after saying there was nobody that stayed on this floor. Nobody at all. No one. You chilling out in your third story floor. You chilling out in your pool at your house, and you just happened to fall asleep, which I don't get because you could have died. Then you woke up, and there's some old lady on this third floor that has been lifeless with big ass eyes staring at you. And your first thought is, whoop, I'm gonna go back to sleep. Y'all want to die. Y'all want to die.
leave on her own. After a couple of minutes, when I looked back, she wasn't there on the window.
No.
I felt relieved and kept thinking, how come I never saw her before? I almost thought that no one lived on the third floor apartment. That's when I heard my phone ringing. It was
Oh,
inside the
no,
house,
no.
so I got up out of the pool thinking it was my parents
Leave.
calling. I was just about to step inside when I heard a voice coming from behind me. I froze. It was an old woman's voice. I slowly turned back and my heart drowned in horror. That old, creepy woman was standing right behind me. There was no
Hell
way she could
no.
have gotten in my backyard without breaking in. Her wide, cold death stare made my legs numb. I literally couldn't walk away, even though I wanted to so badly. I spoke in a broken
Whoa.
voice.
Why is that? Why is it when you're so terrified, you literally, like when you should be running, you cannot move, like at all? Like literally the definition of frozen in fear. Like you cannot move. Like I'm looking at you, look at me, look at you, look at me. Mind you, my heart has probably stopped. Like it's probably not even working. And we're just staring at each other. Like, why do we do that? Why? Girl, I ought to be gone. I would have been gone at the first sight of seeing her in the window talking about some, I just went back to sleep. No, you run. You run for your life. You run until you can't run no more. You better beat the fucking leprechaun on the other side of that rainbow. You better run so fast. Like so far away from this place. You tripping.
Ma'am?
Ma'am!
How did you get inside? She slightly opened her toothless mouth and said, Isabel, you're still here? Run away now or your husband will come and bury you there. She then lifted her weak, lean hand and pointed towards the tree in our garden with her long, creepy fingers. My blood turned to ice.
What the
I replied
hell?
in a shaky voice, What are you saying? She didn't answer. She just kept staring at the tree and then back to my face. Her mouth opened and her eyes widened. It was such a horrible sight. Suddenly, my phone again rang and I ran towards my room frantically this time. I got
Leave
inside
the
my room and
house.
locked it. It was my dad. I answered the phone and stood sobbing terribly. My dad got all freaked out and called 911 on my behalf. The cops came after 10 minutes, and I told them an old crazy lady from the nearby apartment entered our backyard and said some very bizarre things to me. They immediately went to the apartment building and asked the landlord about his tenants on the 3rd floor. It came out as a shock when the landlord said that that floor of the apartment had been empty for the last 15 years. But he also said that an old lady used to live on that floor way back in the day. She was sick and bedridden, so she spent most of her time sitting near that window inside the dark room, and that her children left her alone during her last days. And she even died sitting near that window. The landlord himself did her cremation rituals. The next morning, when my parents came, I told them everything, and a lady cop also stood back with me in the house from last night. She also explained to my parents that I might have just had a bad dream or something, but while they were talking, something popped into my mind. I asked my dad what was the name of the previous owner of our house.
Isabel.
He replied, saying the bank told him a woman lived here with her husband in the house before we moved in. But he also added that that was 15 years ago, and he asked why I was asking. My heart started to beat faster. I told the cop that the old woman addressed me as Isabel, and said her husband buried her under that tree. They both looked pretty surprised, and the cop even decided to check our backyard. When they dug under the tree, scaring the hell out of everyone, a skeleton of a full-grown woman got discovered from our garden. It had a ring on its left hand. Me, along with my mom and my dad, were all completely paranoid. We never knew that there was a dead body lying in our garden. The cops investigated this matter, and they came to know that indeed it was a woman named Isabel's remains. Her husband filed a missing persons report, but after filing the report, he too left the house and the town.
I bet he
Due
did.
to the lack of evidence, the police couldn't find any details about her. Also,
Hell
no one came to interrogate him about her. Her autopsy
Hell
report
no.
signified that she was murdered by a serious injury made by a blunt object on the back of the head. The cops instantly suspected it was her husband who murdered her and had buried her under that tree. And to this day, they're still searching for her husband. I am almost positive that that old lady saw this entire incident from her room's window, but couldn't tell anyone.
I can't
Even
believe
though
y'all still
people find it
staying in
hard
this
to
house.
believe, I think she came back to
Ooh,
tell me about it.
Don't do that.
And I believe it was her ghost that I saw that night. But the question that kept eating my mind was, why me? But this too got answered when the cops published Isabel's picture in the local newspaper, stating about the gruesome case. My parents are still in deep shock. I have no idea what to say. Isabel looks exactly like me.
Oh,
Or
Lord.
should I say I look exactly like her? We're still living in the same house to this day.
Hell
But I
no.
haven't seen that old lady ever again.
What the hell? Yo. I can't do this. I don't think I'm gonna make it through story number 3. I'm real scared. I don't know why I thought doing this was a great idea. I'm so nervous. The house next door.
This
Alright, let's
happened
do it.
amidst the 2020 lockdown. I used to work in a publishing house as a graphic designer, and my office instructed most of the employees to start working from home. I live alone in a small house. The place I live in is known for its quiet and safe environment. At least that's what I used to think. It was a hot summer night. I was going through tremendous work pressure. It was a tight deadline. My house has a moderately sized living room with an open kitchen area. My bedroom is upstairs, and there's a guest bedroom beside it, which I actually turned into my workplace. My boyfriend and I planned to move in together, hence we rented this house. But before we could officially move in there, the coronavirus outbreak took place, and I was compelled to live alone in that house. Beside my house, there was another house. A middle-aged married couple lived in it. They were always fighting and arguing, though.
Y'all,
I could hear.
if y'all hear your neighbors arguing and shit, mind your business. You're gonna end up dead trying to be nosy. Mind your business. That's just as bad as when you pass in a car accident on the freeway and everybody want to stop, cause traffic to stare. Mind your business, man. Just go. Y'all want to die.
Hear the woman scream at her husband every night. Even though pretty much everyone was annoyed with this family, no one ever dared to confront them.
I bet.
I was just hoping everyone wanted to stay out of the fights just like me. But avoiding trouble is obviously not the way to solve it. It was a Saturday night, and I was talking to my boyfriend sitting in my living room. We were obviously upset about not being able to see each other. The weather outside was cloudy in the afternoon, and a thunderstorm was going on outside now. I was pretty surprised to see how awfully quiet the neighboring couple was. I mean, usually they start yelling at each other in the afternoon, but that day there was pin drop silence. I finished the call with my boyfriend, and then went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Within 5 minutes the rain picked up, and it started to get really heavy. This sudden strike of lightning spooked me a bit. I was chopping vegetables, and the power even went out.
Nope.
Alone in a new house amidst a thunderstorm was enough to unsettle my mind.
Nope.
Now with the power cut, I was pretty disturbed if I'm being honest.
Nope. We going swimming that day. We're gonna get our swimsuit, gonna get us a towel, we're gonna swim to the car, we're gonna swim out of this neighborhood, down the street, up the highway to another city away from this. Cause no.
I lit up a candle and started to search for more just when I heard a knock on my door.
Girl, don't answer that
I
door.
was thinking whether I should open the door or not, just when another huge lightning struck nearby, almost making my ears numb. I walked close to the door and said in a hesitated voice, "Who is it?" No one replied, but again I heard the knocks.
Don't answer that
I said
door.
in a loud voice, "Who are you?" The man replied in a panicked voice, "Ma'am, I live next door. My wife is not feeling well. Can you please open the door?"
No.
I recognized the man's voice.
No,
I've heard
I
that
can't.
same man's voice screaming at his wife several times.
Can't open
I
the door.
opened the
sir.
door, and a flash of lightning made me see his face. The dude was literally sweating. I could tell from his face that something serious
Was he sweating or was that raindrops on his face? Just a thought.
had happened. I asked in a worried voice, "What happened?" The man replied with, "My wife isn't feeling well, and I need to get some medicine for her. I can't leave my dog alone in the house. Is there any chance you could keep an eye on him until I come back?" I thought for a second, but the man
we
wasn't
finna
asking
leave.
much, so I couldn't say no.
Yes,
I
you could.
agreed, and the man brought in his dog.
She said she couldn't say no. Yes, you could. All you gotta do is form your lips in a n version and just go no, no. Or just say it. Just no. Say it with me. No. You can say no, cause hell no.
It was honestly a really cute dog, but I don't know why the dog was acting strange. Every time the man
'Cause
tried
he
to
know
grab
what's
the dog,
up.
I kept straying away from him. I was confused. Seeing a pet acting against his owner was not a common occurrence.
That
It was
dog know
quite
what's up.
evident that for some reason the dog didn't like that man. I took the dog inside and locked the door. I watched the man driving away in his car. What worried me most was that he left his sick wife alone, but was insanely concerned about the dog, even though the dog hates him. I didn't think much of it, and got busy cooking dinner again. The storm was growing heavier and louder. I guessed there must have been a huge short circuit, which is why the entire area had lost its power. I finished my dinner, and even gave the dog some food to eat. Now, my bedroom window is faced towards the bedroom window of that
Of
man and
course
his
it is.
wife. I took the candle upstairs and stood near the window. Even though the house was in complete darkness, the flashes of lightning were showing the bedroom in glimpses. I could see their bed, and that someone was lying on it. I thought it was his wife, and was probably just sleeping. My sense of curiosity has always been quite low, so I just went to bed and gave the dog a place to sleep beside it. I don't exactly remember what time it was, but I woke up hearing a strange sound. I got up on my bed and went to the window. And
She
that's when I
tripping.
saw two people standing in the bedroom of my
Oh.
neighboring house. The storm had stopped by now, but the power hadn't come back on yet. With the sound of voices, I figured it was a man and a woman. I realized the man had come back, and it must have been him and his wife. I looked at the clock and saw it was 10 p.m. I was leaving early the next day to meet my boyfriend. That's what we planned that evening, so I thought it would be easier if I just returned the dog right then. I was about to go wake up the dog, just when I saw something weird happen in the couple's bedroom. The man and the woman were carrying a third person out of the room. I got closer to the glass just to have a clear look, and just then the power came back on, causing the room's lights to flick on. That's when my stomach dropped in fear. I saw the man was indeed the husband, but the woman he was talking to was not his wife. It was a completely unknown woman I'd never seen before, and both of them were carrying a person on their shoulders. I could easily make out that third person was that man's wife. Her throat was slashed badly, but her blood had dried.
Girl,
it was evident from the look of her body that she had been dead for hours now. They didn't see me watching them, but suddenly the dog barked and the man started looking straight at me. Our eyes met, and he rushed out of the house at that moment. I didn't know what to do.
He
Out of fear and panic,
Run, bitch! Run!
I too ran downstairs. I knew this man had realized that I now knew his secret. I knew that if this man caught me, there was no way I was getting out of this situation alive.
You dead.
I was a witness of his wife's dead body. I got to the main door and heard the man banging on it. He said in a loud but panicked voice, "Ma'am, I just came to get my dog. My friend is here to help me take my wife to the hospital. We might stay there for a while, so I would appreciate it if you opened the door and returned my dog to me." I was positive whatever he was telling me was a lie. All he wants now is for me to open the door so he can silence me like his wife. I responded, telling him I was going to call the cops and I knew the whole situation. The man banged on my door even harder and replied, "You're misunderstanding the situation. Why don't you just return my dog and mind your own business?"
I think it's what's blowing my mind is how calm he's talking. Like, if he was really talking this calm in real life, like, I can only imagine, like, the sheer fear that would be going down my spine. Like, I wouldn't even be in the house, to be honest with you. But if I was her, I can only imagine, like, how fearful you would be in this moment.
"Open this door right now." I double locked my door so that the man couldn't enter. I then dialed 911 and reported the incident. I was panicking, but as soon as I hung up the call, I heard footsteps running away. Out of my window, I saw the man and the woman hopping in the car and driving away at high speed. When the cops came, they were nowhere to be found, but they did discover the wife's dead body laying on the bedroom floor. The entire story unfolded while the cops investigated the matter. The man was having an affair with the woman I saw that night.
Of course.
He planned to murder his wife and vanish her body without anyone's knowledge.
Jesus.
That was why the man made up the story about his wife being sick. He must have wanted to use me as an alibi for going out of his house that night. The man planned to come back during midnight and quietly get rid of his wife's body. He would have then had to come to me to get his dog back and say something like his wife left him or something. And after generating that idea in my mind, that he had no knowledge of his wife's whereabouts, he would have moved out. In this period of lockdown, people would have hardly gone out of their houses looking for them. The man would have been successful in his plan if he didn't care about his dog so much.
Out the window.
My boyfriend finally moved into the house the next day. It was honestly terrifying to stay in the house next door to where your neighbor had been murdered. The cops are still searching for them to this day, and I can only pray that they get caught soon.
Hell no. They big tripping. I don't know why I be doing this crap to myself. I really don't know. I have got to stop doing this to myself. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure that you hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. I didn't talk much because I was really scared for over here. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoy listening to it. Like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, all those fun YouTube things. Follow me on all of my social media that's on the screen, facing one of these directions. And yeah, I'll see y'all next reaction video. Peace.